Hey bookworms!
I'm BookMouse.
And I'm Book Kitty, and this is
Our
BookNook.
This week we're going back in time to Victorian England. We are going to check out Amanda Quick's book, Second Sight.
Amanda Quick, if you remember, is one of the pseudonyms of Jane Castle or Jayne Ann Krentz. We had done Jane Castle's After Dark a couple of months ago. Now we're trying another one of her series. So let's see how she does.
This is another Arcane Society novel. As we've mentioned before, she has 3 pseudonyms and she writes for each name based on past, present, or future. And Amanda Quick are her historical stories. This is going to be the story of Gabriel Jones and Venetia. I'm biased. I like the Arcane novels. I like Amanda Quick's style. I really like that her female characters... Okay, Victorian era, we all know women didn't have property rights, they didn't have voting rights, they didn't really have rights, period. And, you know, when you're a single female taking care of your family with no help from anybody because your parents are dead, somebody absconded with your inheritance, you don't have a lot of options. And working was not really approved for women, period.
The only few that could barely get away with it were widows.
Yes. You know, she's in a bad situation. She kind of sort of meets Gabriel through a job that she's offered through the Arcane Society.
She's a photographer.
Yes, an amazing photographer. But again, it's not a ladylike profession. And through the course of some events, she believes Gabriel to be dead and she sees an opportunity to help salvage her family.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's got her, a 16-year-old sister, a 10-year-old brother, and her aunt.
Yes.
Who used to be a governess.
And she is supporting all of them by herself. And so it's pretty interesting. I like the fact that she has secrets, he has secrets.
The family themselves have secrets.
Yes. And he comes back from the dead and she's like, oh hell, what am I going to do now? He's going to ruin everything. And he's like, oh hell, she took my name. She's going to ruin everything. So it's how it all gets, you know, convoluted and then worked out. I like when it's not just they meet, they kiss, they fall in love, it's over. I like when there's struggle, when there's conflict. I like when he realizes that maybe he doesn't have social skills that would help him woo a woman. You know, he has to get advice from family members. I love the comedic effects when other family members hear that they're married.
And just show up.
Hey,
where's my daughter-in-law?
And they're
literally.
And they're like, Mom. Dad.
Hold on, let's explain. Hold on. But the funny thing is both of them knew.
Yeah.
Upon that first meeting, that they lied to themselves and they lied to each other the entire book.
Yes.
Which, a couple of weeks maybe? A couple of months. Because at one point it's 3 months later.
That's right. Because
so it's about 6 months total, maybe.
But, you know, you kind of understand. He's got secrets. He's trying to protect Arcane. He's trying to protect his family.
He's trying to protect her now.
And now, yeah. And then she has secrets, and she's got a whopper of a secret. And she's trying to protect her family. She's got a brother and sister that she is fiercely protective of. And she's trying to make sure that they have opportunities she felt like she wasn't going to have. Basically, she's become a parent. And... you know, it's hard. It's a single parent for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the twisties and the turnies. And I liked her independence. I liked her willingness to fight back with him a little bit. Not to let him just come in and take... Yeah. You know, don't let somebody just, oh, good, a man's here to save me.
She's not demure in the least.
She doesn't have time to be. She has a family to take care of.
She has a focus. And that's something that I've been dealing with in my real life, my personal life, is figuring out, yes, okay, there's 20 things I want to do. There's 20 things, let's just to simplify it, that I have interest in. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to have this, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, I'm not going to be successful until I have a particular focus and I sacrifice the rest of it. I sacrifice my TV time for writing my book. You know, because my goal is to finish writing that book and to publish and to get on the New York Times best-selling list. And I'm not going to do that if I'm, you know, playing 4 games of D&D over here, and I'm watching these 2 TV shows over here, and I'm doing my YouTube channel over here. Don't get me wrong, YouTube channel is definitely on those 2 top focuses. Right now, it's the channel and my book, and that's what I'm really trying to focus on. Point is, she kind of realizes that right away. As soon as, now, her parents don't die in the book, but they have died recently. So you do kind of see her just automatically, she doesn't even have a transition period. She just goes, oh, this family needs support. It's me. And she's got that dead focus on that one thing. I'm going to do this photography business, and I'm going to support my family, and everything else goes to the wayside.
And it, you know that she's got the determination because, okay, we're talking Victorian England. She's a photographer, which is a man's profession. She is being bold enough to enter her photographs in competitions, win those competitions, and then stand up to the flack she's getting from the male community.
And she has her own gallery.
Which
not even all the photographers in the book had.
You're right.
They had a common space. Somebody had a common space that had a dark room with some chemicals. That had a little studio space. She didn't need that. She was one of the few who didn't need that.
Right.
She had her own gallery.
She had a goal to make this a successful career and not back down from it. I like seeing that success because honestly, it doesn't always happen in real life. Sometimes success, no matter what you do, you could hit ABC, you could do everything right, and it doesn't happen. So when you do see it happen, it's kind of that feel-good feeling and gives you a little bit of hope. Okay, yes, it's a story.
You feel compersion for her. You're happy for her happiness.
Okay, yeah.
It's usually used in terms of like polyamory. So like you might feel compersion for your partner and your partner's partner because they're happy.
Okay.
But in this case, you feel compersion for the main character because you're happy that she's successful where you maybe haven't been able to be.
From these kind of writings, though, you can take an idea for yourself. I just got to try it one more time. Let's try something different this time. And I liked that it made it very clear what she was willing to give up. She was willing to give up any chance at a future for herself.
Oh, she gave up her identity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just to be sure to take care of her family. And I'm going to keep saying it. I liked that. I liked that facet of her personality. I liked that it was portrayed well. But, you know, you mentioned something earlier about the book.
Are we talking about those scenes?
Yes.
So those scenes are, of course, the romance scenes. It is a paranormal romance. It is very much kind of centered on the paranormal and the mystery aspect of it. And I think the romance part of it is actually more of a tertiary genre. Mm-hmm. Because there are, 3, maybe 4 sex scenes. And the sex scenes are they're not explicit, which is fun, but they're just explicit enough to elicit a visceral reaction from the reader. So when I read these scenes, I did feel a little increase in my heartbeat. I did feel a little tingle in certain parts for just a moment, because these sex scenes, I don't think one lasts more than a page or 2. I don't think any of them last more than a page or 2. And what I liked most about it was that she didn't focus on every aspect of that sexual encounter. She didn't, first this happened, then this happened, then I did this, then he did that. No, it wasn't, some of the Harlequin novels I grew up on, that's what the sex scenes are like. They're 3-4 pages long in the small print mass paperback. They've got, it's very step by step, this is what happened. That is not like this in this book. In this book, the author picks maybe 3 or 4 specific points in the adventure to focus on and to explain in just enough detail to get that reaction, but not enough to be explicit. And then it moves on. What I like too, this is the only book that I have ever read, mind you, this is my own personal experience, that ends in a sex scene. So normally you have the rise to the climax, you have the climax, then you have a very quick downfall. You resolution, wrap up, new normal. So that new normal is the sex scene. Like, it's showing that they are together. That's their new normal. They are now a couple. They are now officially married. I thought that was just a little bit, something that the author did that was just a little bit more unique. Like, she ended on a sex scene. She ended on a good note.
Yeah. like you said, they're not overly explicit. Don't get me wrong. I have my books that I like. But, you know, when you're getting wrapped up in a murder mystery and you're getting wrapped up, an R or X-rated book is not what you're expecting. You know, you're trying to keep all the details of who's straight
and to add just a little bit of sex or a little bit of romance is realistic, because when you are thrown into a high-stress situation with somebody, there is that thing called, I forget what it's actually called. It's like trauma love or something. It's like a relationship that forms out of shared trauma. Okay. You know, you both go through this experience, and because nobody else understands, you guys kind of end up together because you have this thing about you that's similar that nobody else gets because they weren't there. Okay. And so it makes sense that a romance could grow out of situations like this. So that's why I don't generally mind a little bit of romance or sex being put into it, because it's very realistic. People have sex when they get scared or nervous or when they're super stressed for a release of tension.
Or have a lot of adrenaline.
Or have a lot of adrenaline. But it also gives the reader a chance to take a break from the main events of the story, to also get a break from the same stress that the characters are going through, because a good author is going to have you reliving or living what the character is living and feeling what the character is feeling. So if the character needs a step back, the reader probably needs a step back. So it kind of has that double duty. I do enjoy when a book does that. Even if it's not a romance genre, even if it doesn't have romance as a subgenre, I appreciate just a little bit thrown in because it's more realistic. Okay. Unless, of course, you have an asexual or aromantic character.
Yeah.
Or you just simply don't have time to include it because there's so much more going on, or whatever the case may be. But most stories, I do enjoy a little bit being put in. The only one thing that I have against this book, and that sounds harsh, I promise I don't mean it that harshly. I did really enjoy this book. The one thing I didn't really enjoy is the fact that it is supposed to be a historical romance. It is supposed to be set in Victorian England, Victorian London to be more specific. Yes. And yes, when they're having those sex scenes, they're describing the corsetry, they're describing what clothing parts are different that are being removed than what we would expect. And some of the language is a little more formal, but and they do describe like a carriage here and there. But in those times when they're not describing it, it's very easy to forget that it's historical. It's, to me, I just kept picturing modern characters until we got to those description points. Okay. To me, it almost felt like the historical aspect was kind of like a back burner thing, and it just kind of got added in to like add flavor. Now, I know that's probably not her intention. I mean, she's got an entire historical paranormal romance series behind this book, and it is not the first one. But to me, it was difficult to remember that it was Victorian England. The amount of formal speech, or the type of formal speech, could very well, in my mind, have been attributed to somebody of a higher class in a more modern time that was just dressed well. So that's really kind of my only critique, is that it didn't quite have that historical feeling all the way through.
Like you didn't feel you were immersed in Victorian London?
I did not feel like I was immersed in Victorian England.
Okay. Well, all in all, what did you think about the book?
All in all, I really enjoyed it. All in all, I mean, the story was compelling. The characters felt real, and really, really was rooting for them. I really wanted to know who was trying to acquire what they were trying to acquire. Like, I really wanted to know who done it.
Yeah.
And what was Rosalind up to? And I certainly was not disappointed on that end.
Yes. Yeah.
I was not disappointed on the conclusion of the climax. And so, yes, I really enjoyed it. I, however, would not recommend reading it unless you've read the books before it, because I was a little confused on the world building as far as the abilities and talents that the characters have, the magical aspect. But I think that was just because I didn't have those backstories that had a little more explanation. You said one of the books had the brothers in it, so I would have already known Gabriel a little bit.
You would have known Gabe a little bit. And
right.
You would have known a little bit more about the structure of the Arcane Society.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would recommend reading this if you're into the Arcane Society. And if you do want to check it out, I would start with the first one, which...
She She's just got so many.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen as to what the first book is, and I'll put in the description below the list of the Arcane Society books.
Right.
That's what I'll do.
Okay.
Along with a link to the author's website for the rest of her series and pseudonyms.
All right.
So, between the two of us, I think we can rate it 4 paws up. So, that is all we have for you today. Next week, we will be taking a look at Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Some of you have probably read the book or seen the movie with, I think, Julia Roberts.
And I have done neither.
Oh, I did see the movie. That's why I was drawn to the book when I did purchase it. But my life has changed so much between when I purchased it and now. I never did get to read it, and now I'm not sure I want to. But that's exactly why I'm doing it. So I guess we'll see. This is definitely a different type of book for us. I mean, those are Molly's.
Well, this will be interesting. Like I said, I've never read it.
I have no idea what
Never
it's
saw
about.
the movie. I have no clue what it's about. So this is, I'm going into it blind, so I'll have a totally blank slate when I read this. You'll have to join us next week and see if
And
this
find
book
out.
is a life changer.
Mm-hmm.
This has been BookMouse.
And Book Kitty, we are now signing off.
So if you missed us last week, we took a look at John Grisham's The Summons, and you can click on it up here. Or you can click down here and check out my books that I read in the month of October, where I wrap it all up.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe below and ring that bell so you don't miss a thing.